Grado is the daft of the Football Daft podcast.
Is that a good story? Is that a good story?
I've got an encyclopedia brain.
He's got a day man nothing. Fuck's sake. Why are you a fucking hoot?
This is Football Daft.
You're a Rangers man. I'm a Hearts man.
With Ewan Cameron.
I work for Showtime and ESPN.
And...
For the top end of Stevenson, Grado!
And hello, it's stand-in host David Tanner here, the thinking woman's Ewan Cameron, and with me is...
Grado.
Grado, good to see you. What a weekend ahead of us. It's Rangers v Celtic, or if you're on Twitter, it's Sevco Scotland Limited against Pacific Shell 595.
That's why it goes on in Twitter, isn't it?
It's a bit mental. It is a bit mental.
What have you been doing, mate? You've been busy. You know, been doing a wee bit of a profile and stuff for the League Cup final. That's got to be on BT, innit? I'll be looking forward to watching that.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of filming.
Have you? Where you been at Murray Park and the Hummel Training Centre in Lennoxtown?
I've been at Lennoxton. I've been at Celtic Park, and Ali McCoy came over to One Devonshire Gardens, Hotel de Fan at One Devonshire Gardens.
Was he asking for me?
Yes, he was.
No, seriously, was he?
No.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Sorry about that. So that's all for memories on BT Sport Sunday at midday. Set your VHS recorder for that. But listen, what about your performance on BBC Scotland?
I bet Thompson, we done I think he does every week, he versus somebody for the results that weekend, and I absolutely sconed him. I think I got
so
every
the predictions?
Aye. Panned him in the predictions, so I was delighted with that.
So Tomahawk is hanging his head in shame.
Aye, Tomahawk, that's his name on Instagram, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Now, Hearts have got a new manager. Ewan Cameron, if he was here, would talk about that forever and ever and ever.
You're right, do you know what? The full episode would all be, and I bet you, in fact, if we find out if Ewan likes his appointment, no?
We'll get him on next week.
Aye, I'll voice note while we're here.
Aye, that's a good idea. But this is what Grado does, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't send texts or WhatsApps. He sends you audio notes.
Too lazy to. Anyway.
Here we go.
Alright, Ewan, we're recording the podcast. What do you make of Daniel?
Hi there, it's the stand-in here. Have you been sacked?
He wants to know. I want to know. How do you feel about the Hearts appointment? Good or no? See you after.
Listen, I don't know very much about this guy, Daniel Stendel. It's taken a long time, so it's an interesting appointment. I think what we should do is speak to someone later on who knows something about him. Somebody from Barnsley.
Right.
Do you like my Yorkshire?
Say again.
Barnsley.
Say again.
No. You're mocking me now. I can feel it. I'm only the stand-in. Don't mock me. And listen, the other big thing we need to talk about is our guest today. Yep. He's coming in later. I cannot wait for this. It's Gary MacKay-Steven. Yep. Now, we've done really well with getting guys in from MLS, top stars. GMS, I think he should still be playing. He could still be in the Scotland team. Won some trophies at Celtic, and a couple of years at Aberdeen. Loved at Dundee United. Let's talk football with him and nothing else. Okay?
You sure? You sure, man? I've got.
Is there anything else you're thinking about asking guys about?
I've got a couple of questions floating about my mind.
Are you going to create a splash?
He'll be all right with talking about it, won't he?
I've no idea. But did you not have some connection to that incident? Did you push him in?
Certainly did. Well, at the
Kelvin.
time, I worked in emergency services at the time, the fire brigade. So I was on a night we got a report of somebody, a male in the River Kelvin. Obviously, didn't know at the time. It came out in the papers a couple of days later. But it's a big call out for something like that. You know what I mean? It's not just a matter of, it's boats, it's polas, it's ambulance, it's the full bifter. So it'd be interesting to see how he feels about costing the taxpayers all that money.
I heard there was an investigation though, because when they phoned up and they said, "There's a man in the River Kelvin, quickly come and rescue him," and the person said, "No problem, I'll be there in 5 minutes," and it's an Aberdeen player. Sorry,
stand down.
Grado's Rant.
Oh, do you know what I really missed last week?
What?
Grado's Rant. You were in a good mood last week.
I've been in a good mood for the last couple of weeks.
You get a bit tense and nervous ahead of the Old Firm game, and maybe that's get you on edge a wee bit.
I'm just looking at it here as well just now. So my rant is about these Arsenal players when they were coming in for was it at Norwich they were playing it? Was that what it was? Was it the Norwich game?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, on Sunday.
So poor wee mascot's standing there. He says, "Big day." You think you're a young boy and your heroes are walking into the stadium. Big day for him. And the video is just heartbreaking of these fucking football players walking right by him. Boys standing there shy, seeing his heroes, and not one of their players. David, you're looking at your phone. This is equally just fucking rude.
No, I'm watching
I don't
the video.
care, right?
I'm watching the video.
Right. Oh, you're watching the video, okay.
Is that all right? God, you're ranting at me now.
What I'm saying is, come on, right? What does it take for one of their players just to go there and a wee scruff at the boy's head, a wee hello, how you doing? That wee guy's going to remember that for the rest of his days now. Obviously, it's not going to affect him because he's seen the players. But what does it take to just reach out and shake the wee boy's hand? This wee boy's heroes he looks up to. And just it would only take one player just to come out and acknowledge him, and they never done it. I hate it. There's also another clip years ago. I remember Liverpool players coming out, and I know they were probably told after security, look, don't sign anything. But there was one guy standing there with a shirt, and there was only one player, I can't remember who it was, that takes the time out to sign it. But even Klopp's just patching him. And I just think these people who wait outside, they spend all their money on the gear, the merch, they pay their way, they put money into the club support, and they can't acknowledge him. I find it disgusting.
I think that's a really good rant, by the way. You're a man of the people. I totally agree with you.
It's a lot of shite.
For Grado!
No. It's just for all it takes. All it takes is just a wee bit of acknowledgement, and that would have made that wee boy's life. He's already excited to see them, but the way he just stood there in that image, they should be fucking ashamed of themselves. They really should. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Did you see the Ballon d'Or awards this week?
Is that the one with Drogba and
Kylian Mbappe?
Yep. He remembered them if he was a wee boy. Did he patch him when he was younger?
Drogba custard pie,
Aye.
a kid at Stamford Bridge, and it turned out to be the best footballer for the next generation.
But it just shows you that's stuck in that boy's head. Things like that stick in your head. You know what I mean? I always remember when I went to see the Buffs and we played.
Wait a minute. How can we go? This is David Tanner's rant now. How can we go from a World Cup winner to the Buffs?
The Buffs. I remember sunning as a wee guy, and the Buffs players come out, and I'm sticking my hand out and slapping their hands. And I think he played for Ardee Thistle at the time. One of the players, Billy
Big Boss.
And he was walking by, and I was going boo, boo, boo. Kind of just as Wayne does. And I was only about 8 or 9 at the time, and the player went, "All right, fat boy."
What's wrong
broke
with
my
that?
fucking heart. See if I ever see that player again, man. He's getting a wee fucking portion of their own slice. Telling you. Because that is stuck in my head. Him calling me fat boy.
What did you say? I'm big boned for my age.
I never just grate into my pie.
See, when I was 10 at Hampden Park, I shouted at Gordon Strachan, "Strachan, you're a disgrace." This is absolutely true. Archie Knox, the Aberdeen assistant manager, leaned out the dugout and said, "How you? Any more of that, you get popped too."
Brilliant.
And I was like,
You shit yourself.
absolutely. And I thought, what have I said? It was the same reaction I gave when Instagram banned me. And I remember looking in the dugout and saying, and Fergie gave me the death stare.
Yes, there's my pizza. Right, keep going.
Oh, God, good. But Sir Alex Ferguson gave me the death stare, and Archie threatened me with a polis.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And
And I've never had the guts to tell Archie.
Oh,
'cause
you
He's still terrifies
You
me.
should have told him, man.
He's a great lad, but he terrifies me. Now, you've got a pizza coming in here. Does that mean that we have to go to tape?
Let's have somebody's fucking... Who's ate off it? Somebody's ate off it.
Roll VT. So as we mentioned earlier, and you may have known this without me mentioning it, it's Old Firm Betfred Cup Final weekend, Grado.
It's Derby Day on Sunday.
It certainly is. It's on BT Sport. Can you do that's Ian Crocker? Can you do Rory Hamilton
Is
impersonation?
that who it's going to be? No, I've no idea who they hit Roy Hamilton, no.
Oh, right, okay. That's disappointing. He's very good. He'll be doing it with Ali McCoy. Have you heard of Ali McCoy?
Aye, vaguely.
Right, that's good. Well done. Now, I want to talk to the fans and get the fans' viewpoint on this. And we've not just got any fans, we're going to talk to the authors of some Old Firm books. And first up is the author of this fabulous book here. I've been using it this week preparing for my BT Sport Old Firm Memories programme.
Yep.
It's called Celtic v Rangers, the Boys' Greatest Old Firm Victories, and the author is David Potter. David, just to check, are you a Celtic fan?
Yes, I am. I must say I am.
So you chart 50 of the best Celtic victories in Old Firm games. League Cup final weekend. Do you have a favourite Old Firm League Cup final? You've got 14 to choose from.
Yes, my favourite is, I was just too young to see the 7-1 game in 1957, but I did see the one in 65 when John Hughes scored the 2 penalty kicks to beat Rangers 2-1. And I remember that game very well. That's my favourite, I think.
So what are you thinking about this weekend then? Have Rangers closed the gap enough to make you worried this time, David?
I think so. I think I'm a wee bit worried. It seems to me to be quite even, and it all depends on who plays better on the day.
I definitely agree with you. Even when both Old Firm teams are playing in form, the League Cup final, I think form goes out the window. I especially think. Although, David, you seem to disagree, don't you? I mean, both teams are on fire, David. What are you thinking about it?
I think the form book does play a part in Old Firm games, but I tell you what, the form guide for these guys at the moment is that they're both on fire.
That's it.
Domestically and in Europe. So I find it really, really difficult to call. Who do you think, David, is going to be the key player for Celtic? Do you think Odsonne Edouard is going to be fit and play?
That I don't know. I think one of our key players is always Scott Brown. I think Scott is a very, very important person, but we've also got possibly a wee bit edge in midfield because I think Callum McGregor's a very good player, and Ryan Christie is also he's on fire at the moment as well. Mm-hmm. It's no accident, for example, that the one game that we lost this season was the game in which Ryan got sent off. And we lost it because we played with 10 men in the second half, and the man missing was, of course, our star man, Ryan Christie.
David, I don't mean to upset you, but Grado has spotted a mistake on the cover.
You noticed a mistake. I'm not taking the dairy for this.
You picked it out, actually. It's called The Boys' Greatest Old Firm Victories, and you've got all these fabulous pictures of Old Firm victories. There's Paul McStay, Jerry Craney, Billy McNeil with the League Cup. But you've got El Hadj Diouf and Scott Brown, the famous the Bruni.
And David is noticing that game wasn't a victory for Celtic, it was a 2-each draw at Ibrox, is that right?
So you'll have to take all the books back.
All right, I'll have to start again.
It's a great picture.
It's such a good picture, though. I couldn't resist it. It's such a good picture.
Oh, brilliant. It's a great choice of picture.
I prefer the one of Diouf at the end of the season.
What is that?
Oh, he's got the League Cup in his son. No, it's not the League Cup. Was it the League Cup, the Scottish Cup?
The League Cup and that year Celtic won the Scottish Cup and Rangers won the League Cup and the League Cup
at an extra time, wasn't it?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Good factoids. Well, David, we wish you all the very best for the book. It's out now from Pitch Publishing, Celtic v Rangers, the Boys' Greatest Old Firm Victories, and there's also a Rangers equivalent by Jeff Holmes. Before you go, you've got to give us your prediction then for the Cup final. What's your scoreline?
I think it'll be a very narrow win for Celtic. 2-1 for Celtic.
2-1.
You having that?
Is my prediction.
Well, as I said, I don't want to make any predictions because anything can happen in Derby Day. I'm scared, but what I will say is whoever comes out victorious in this game is going to play a big part in the rest of the month. It's going to play a big part on the New Year's Old Firm and the rest of the season. So this Sunday is a big, big game. But I'm just looking at this book and I'm thinking if there's anybody out there that wants to have a wee stocking filler for any your pals that are Celtic fans, this looks like the book that you could give to somebody at Christmas time because there's the way it's all set up and the pictures look brilliant.
Words and pictures. It's a winning formula in books. David, great to talk to you and thank you very much for coming on the Football Daft.
Okay, right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks very much, pal. All right, all the best.
So that's the Celtic view. What about the Rangers view? Now, I'm delighted to say we're joined by another Rangers fan and another author. He wrote Rangers FC in the 1980s, The Players' Stories. I'm not sure what that's about. I've got a good idea, though. And it's Alistair Aird. Alistair, thanks for joining us.
No props.
Your book is about big games in the 1980s. Can I put it to you that the Old Firm League Cup final of 1986 defined that generation?
Well, obviously we'd had such a difficult start to the 1980s, transitioning from Jock Wallace to John Gregg, then back to Jock Wallace again, and obviously Graham Souness comes in August '86, and first opportunity we get, we make the League Cup final against Celtic, and obviously thanks to Durrant and a bit of coolness personified for Davy Cooper with the penalty, we end up winning the trophy, probably giving us a bit of impetus to then drive us on to win the title. So obviously as a Rangers supporter, I'm hoping there's something similar develops this weekend.
Aye, speaking of Sunday, big man, I think this game on Sunday is going to define the rest of the season. How are you feeling as a Rangers fan? Do you feel confident? Both teams are playing in form. A lot of people say form goes out the window on Old Firm Day, but how do you feel yourself about this one?
I think team selection is probably going to have a lot to do with it, Grado.
Absolutely.
I think probably 8 of the 11 jerseys pick themselves, but in terms of what Steven does with probably the right-hand side of midfield, he experimented at the weekend with Arfield behind Aribo, which I thought worked particularly well. But we've got a striker at the moment who's scoring for fun, and it would be fantastic, I think, if he got himself a goal on Sunday, given the amount of grief that he's obviously had. But I'm confident, I'll be honest. I think we've got a very, very good chance of getting a result.
But do you say that in every game?
No, well, but just sort of touching back in team selection, I think earlier on in the season when we played Celtic at Ibrox, Steven got the team selection wrong that day.
Definitely.
And hopefully he's learned from that. But we've got a back five that, as I say, picks itself. We've got guys like Ryan Jack, Stephen Davis, who are mainstays in the team. Kent and Morella's up front. So there's only really 2 jerseys, I think, that are up for grabs. If he gets them right, then we've got a fantastic opportunity to, as you guys say, put a marker down. And I would agree, Grado, that this one's probably of more significance than the game at Parkhead on the 29th of December. Yeah. If we get a result here, then it'll push us on. If we don't, then there's every possibility that could be enough to set us back and just come up just that wee bit short again.
Listen, never mind setting you up. You get a trophy, and Rangers haven't won one of those in the top flight since 2011. 2011,
exactly. So that in itself would be excellent. But I think Steven Gerrard coming in and getting the result this time last year in the league game was huge. Then getting the result at the end of last season was huge. I think the next logical step is to get some silverware, and there's no better place to do it than Hampden against your Old Firm rivals. And the parallels between Gerrard, European Cup winning captain with Liverpool, and Souness, obviously sort of touching back in the book again, Souness coming in '86, European Cup winning captain, Liverpool, first managerial job. The parallels are there. So I'm just hoping that sort of symmetry continues on Sunday, where we win that first trophy and it pushes us on to win the league. I just hope there's no another Hamilton in the Scottish Cup coming as a result of that, such that we have the embarrassment of that.
86-87's big result.
We did back in 86-87. But
speaking of your book, how did you make it? How did you spend a lot of time with players in the 80s and get their views and interviews?
There's 21 ex-players in there, and when I'm sort of putting it together in terms of describing the mixture, it's like an eclectic mix. I've got guys like Stuart Beattie in there that only played 9 games for us, and Goffey's in there that played 300 odd, legendary captain. So
it's a big mixture.
Did you do Cammy Fraser?
Sorry, David?
Did you do Cammy Fraser?
Cammy Fraser, I didn't get a chance to speak to Cammy Fraser.
Jan Bartram?
Jan Bartram, I didn't get a chance to speak to either. But I've managed to get a decent mix in there in terms of guys that were there in the early parts of the 80s when we were struggling and actually went through the transition with us when Souness came in and everything changed and there was a huge uplift.
So it definitely is a good stocking filler for any Rangers fan. Whereabouts can you get your book, big man?
All good retailers. So you got Amazon, you got Waterstones. You can get it directly from the publisher as well. Or alternatively, you can message me. You can find me on Facebook. There's a Facebook page for the book as well. So if you contact me through that, then I'm sure I'll be able to sort something out for you.
Alistair, enjoy the day. Thanks very much, and good luck with your book, Rangers FC in the 1980s, The Player Stories, out now from Pitch Publishing.
Mate, I know I've cut, but here, can you follow me on Twitter and message me? I'm going to buy one directly off you, right?
Well do, Grado.
Right,
no problem, mate.
Brilliant.
Right.
Cheers, mate. Thanks very much, right?
Okay.
See you later, pal. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Now it's time for our Beer 52 match of the week. And last week we asked for a prediction for the Rangers v Hearts game. Now, believe it or not, people actually got it right that it was 5-0 to Rangers. What a scalping for Hearts. Another reason why Ewan Cameron is not sitting in the host seat this week. Sorry, Ewan. Anyway, well done to Andrew Neely, who was drawn out of the hat as the winner. He predicted 5-0. Now, this week, our Beer 52 match of the week is, of course, the League Cup final between Rangers and Celtic. All you have to do to win is guess the correct score and do it before 3 o'clock on Sunday, which of course is kick-off time. Everyone that gets the score right will go into the draw to win the beer. You can enter by commenting on the link on the Football Daft Facebook page or tweet your score to @FootballDaftPod with the hashtag #FreeBeer. Winners must be over 18 and stay in the UK. Now, I'm going to tell you about my prediction for this game. Here's a good stat for you. I've been doing the programme for BT Sport and doing all my research. There have been in all 14 Old Firm League Cup finals. The first being 1957 when Celtic won 7-1. I wouldn't think that would happen again, but you never know. Rangers have won 9 and Celtic have won 5. Now, when Celtic won 10 years ago, Aidan McGeady and Darren Reddy scored. Their 2-0 win was in fact the biggest margin of an Old Firm win in a cup final for 40 years. Every Old Firm Scottish Cup and League Cup final since 1969, apart from that one game, has been won by a 1-goal margin. So I'm going to go for a 1-goal margin in this. I'm just not saying for whom. So my prediction will be 3-2 after extra time. How about that then? I'm not saying for whom though. Can't make up my mind. And you can get free beer from Beer 52 as well. All you need to do is go to beer52.com/daft and we can sort out free beers if you cover just £4.95 for the postage. You'd normally get 8, but as you're a Football Daft listener, we'll give you 2 extra free beers. And that's a total of 10, folks. Now, your first box will be sent to you the next day and will contain beer from all over this month's chosen destination, Korea. It's a monthly subscription for beer, and Beer 52 don't hold you to ransom. You can leave any time. So just go to beer52.com/daft to get your first case of 10 beers for free. So this week we're not doing Who Are You? It's Who Is He? Do you like what I've done there?
I like what you've done there, David.
So, Hearts have got a new manager. It's Daniel Stendel, and I know very little about him other than he was in Barnsley. So I'm going to go and dig deep down in that part of the world. And I'm delighted to say we're joined by Leon Wobschall, who is a football writer at the Yorkshire Post. Leon, is this a good appointment by Hearts?
I think so, yeah. I mean, he's got a bit of a point to prove after what happened at Barnsley. I mean, he was there, he wasn't there that long, really, probably about 16 months. No one knew anything about him, really, a real left field selection. It was literally a case of Daniel who. I mean, Barnsley just got relegated. It was Paul Higginbottom, someone who you know in that your records as well. He'd left in February to go to Leeds. They got Jose Moraes, who used to be one of Mourinho's many coaches at Chelsea. It was a bit inglorious. They ended up getting relegated with a little bit of a whimper. Everyone really thought they'd go British, but then they brought Daniel in. He'd been managing Hanover. He'd got sacked there, I think, about a year before. No one knew absolutely anything about him. I mean, I suppose the interesting thing was, I mean, we thought they'd go British, Barnsley, but they actually got the manager, then sort of identified a playing style, which is a bit, the Gagan pressing, played fast transition football. They were big on that. Had a look at the managers all around. They're very big on this sort of, database, spreadsheet analysis. I don't know if you know much about the situation at Barnsley with the owners, but Billy Bean, the Moneyball character,
oh yeah,
he's part of the setup there. So it's really driven by analysis, data. They identified, several coaches they thought could fit into that bracket the way they want to play, and lo and behold, Daniel's name came up, and he came over to Barnsley in the summer of 2018. No one knew anything about him. Came over at the start of pre-season. Didn't know what to expect. His English was very limited when he first came. I mean, it's not brilliant now, but it's a lot better than it was. He's from the eastern part of the old East Germany, so I think he actually learned Russian rather than English as a second language. And so no one knew too much about him, but he hit the ground running at the start of the season, got some early wins, and obviously ended in promotion.
Is he any good? That's the question that the Hearts fans want to know, because Paul Heckingbottom, who of course preceded him at Oakwell, didn't work for him. He was Paul Who at the beginning, became Paul Why. So is this guy better?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, you think his first full season, in English football, he's got a promotion on his CV. He took over a team that were relegated. You think about the division. You had some big teams in League One last season, Sunderland, Portsmouth. It was a losing mentality at Barnsley, and they went all season without losing at home in the league.
Right.
How they went. Go on.
How did he fare against Jack Ross in the Sunderland games?
Well, funnily enough, they lost 4-2 at Sunderland at the Stadium Light, and they're both up there. It was about this time last year.
Well, I mean, it is interesting to see that Sunderland beat Barnsley, and I'm just wondering. Yeah,
Sunderland were heavily linked with him as well. Out of interest as well.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, they were in the mix. He was linked with quite a few clubs. He was tentatively linked with Middlesbrough before Woodgate got it. I suppose in terms of the history of him, at Barnsley, I think in the summer he was just, did a brilliant job with the young players there. But the policy of the board there is they don't buy players over 23.
Is that right?
So their sort of theory is we buy them young, we get them, we develop them for a couple of years, then we sell them. And he had big concerns, Stendel, in the summer about he just really wanted a couple of experienced players at the back, especially, just to sort of see them through. Just even a couple of 26, 27-year-olds, the ones who've done seen it, done it in the Championship because they're next to no experience. And I think he saw the signs in pre-season, and I mean they won the first game of the season, but it sort of went downhill after that. Even though they were playing some decent stuff. But they were just letting in stupid goals, and I think gradually it sort of got Daniel down, and then the part of company after the Preston game, they lost 5-1.
Okay, Leon, Grado here is going to give you a £10 note, a Bank of Scotland one, by the way. He wants you to put it on this bet. Will Daniel Stendel be a successor Hearts, or won't he? Where's your money?
Oof. No.
Oh, why? Any particular reason?
I mean, I hope he does. Don't get me wrong. I think it's difficult when you're a foreign coach going into a new league, new country halfway through. I think it's difficult. I think he had the benefit when he went in at Barnsley. He went in pre-season in June. There was loads of sort of young players, and he had a little bit to work with there. He still had some lads who got a little bit more experience, a little bit of experience for the Championship going into League One. I'm not saying he can't do it, but I just think it's difficult, when you go in at this time of year, to sort of turn it around.
It is
if he'd have gone in the summer, I'd have put the tether on him, sort of, doing really well, but bit of a difficult one this time of year. I hope he does though, because he's a good guy.
Brilliant. Well, listen, it's been great to talk to you, Leon. Thank you very much indeed.
No problem.
Leon Wobschall there from the Yorkshire Post. And now to our main event, continuing our theme of MLS stars. We've had Johnny Russell in. We've had Sam Nicholson in. Have I missed out anyone?
Nah, that's it.
Have we Gary MacKay-Steven in yet?
Nah.
Let's fix that right now. Guys, great to see you. Welcome home, son.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to be back. It's nice.
How long you after?
I'm off to... I don't go back to January the 11th, I think, our pre-season starts. So
good.
Been off already for 3 weeks.
Do they pay you during the close season?
They pay. So they pay in dollars. So back here, although that's good for me right now. The British pound's not too
shite in it. What is it, 1.2?
Oh, it's all right for some.
It's good coming this way. So
no, but it is, isn't it? Maybe like if this was 10 years ago,
The British pound, yeah, I remember.
Or even 15 years ago.
So do you come over here now and fill your boots with Reebok and take it home in reverse?
I remember holidaying and it was £1 to $2.
I know.
Like the pound was so strong, but it's gone the other way right now. So
the country has fallen to bits since you left, Gary, and there's no coincidence. Tell me this. Let me cut straight to the chase. What's the weirdest thing you've been asked in an after-match interview when playing for New York City?
I've been asked about the man sitting beside me.
What?
One of the first interviews after a game, because it's funny. I have to be honest.
Seriously?
It's because it's a guy with a video camera and then a guy with a mic. After the game in the changing room or the locker room, after games, they just loads of journalists pile in, and it's so funny, like so different. Like kind of the changing room over here is like kind of sacred place kind of thing. Like the coach would say his piece and you just get your shower, but there the coach says his piece and you've got 5 minutes or so less before journalists pile in. But anyway, it must have been one of my first games, like maybe my first time I played at home, and I only played like 50 minutes or whatever, and I was like, he's going to ask me about my debut and that, and but the cameraman was just like, is it true Scotland's biggest export, is it, what was it, how did he word it? It's like, is it Scotland's biggest export Loch Ness Monster or Grado? He pronounced it Grado.
I always do that.
He pronounced it Grado.
Hey, Grado.
And I honestly, I have to be honest, I know Grado. At the time, I was like, wait, like, I had no idea what he was talking about, but it ended up, he was a big wrestling fan, and he was,
I'm talking to that, by the way.
That's absolutely superb.
That's literally one
And what did you say, the Loch Ness Monster?
I said the Loch Ness Monster.
But now that you've met him finally, there's not much difference, is there? Guys, tell me this, Thurso.
Tell us.
What was it like growing up in Thurso? Because as much as I would love to say I know a lot about it, I know it's got a nuclear power plant which has been decommissioned, Dounreay. Brian Gunn, former Aberdeen and Norwich goalkeeper, Angus Gunn's father, was from there. What about growing up? Who were your football role models? Because guys who live in Ayrshire or in Glasgow or in Edinburgh, there's lots of professional footballers in that area. I mentioned Brian Gunn, but there's not really been anybody from up there. So how on earth did you end up being a professional footballer? Because just remind us how long it takes you to drive from Thurso to Glasgow.
Thurso to Glasgow's, you'll be lucky if you do it in 5 hours, yeah.
Remind me what the flight time is from New York to Glasgow or Edinburgh.
When I flew home, just there, it was New York to Edinburgh, 6 hours, 10 minutes.
So basically at the same time. So you're remote. So how then do you become a professional footballer from what is a remote part of the country?
Well, I think, obviously, we had been up in Caithness. You played football so much. I mean, there wasn't... if you loved football, although I'm saying I wasn't a diehard supporter like people growing up in the cities are, you love football, you did watch football, you watched bigger games, but you played it all the time. There wasn't maybe as much to do. You're always outside, so every minute of the day I had a ball at my feet and was playing, whether it was in the street, at the park, wherever. You always played football. And then as I got older, there's a lot of football teams out there, obviously local teams, but then you play for your school and stuff, and then the closest club, Caithness United, once you played for the kind of county, play games against, your Ross Counties, your Calais, so they play in that league. And then from a young age, I would go down to Ross County training. So I was with Ross County from under 14s.
How long does that jaunt take? I mean, that's almost as close as Reykjavik.
Yeah, that's a 2 and a bit hour drive to Dingwall one way, and then 2 and a bit hour back. So
you overcome the odds.
Yeah, well, really, I have to thank my mum and dad for serious amount of petrol money they splurged on getting me down the road every Thursday. It was from under 14s, under 15s, under 17s, and then under 19s, which was full time. I actually moved down to Dingwall for under 19s, but growing up, Thursday night for training after school, they would take me down and back up, and then for a game on a Sunday.
Now listen, I opened up Twitter stupidly for questions for you. Now, would you care to guess what most of the questions relate to? Well, here's one here as an example. Sam Daly says, how close was Gary to giving up football before Airdrie picked him up? What did you think I was going to say?
I know what he was going to say.
Swerve.
Not close at all, to be honest. It was a strange time looking back, but at the time, so I was a young boy down at Liverpool.
Is that all?
And anyway, I got an injury, a kind of bizarre injury. It was a stress fracture to my pubic bone.
What?
Yeah, very, very strange injury.
Your pubic bone?
Yeah, my pubic
so just
bone.
right above your phallus?
Yeah.
How the fuck did you break that? Or fracture that?
I don't you want to ask that.
Well, not what you think. It was actually...
I must apologise. That's producer John over there.
It's...
At the mention of buttocks, he sat up.
He's so amateur.
It's... it's a common injury among...
football players?
No, like marathon runners or something.
Right.
The reason I got it was because I was in the under-18s, but then... So I went down... done a pre-season with under-18s, and then got told I was going to be moving to the reserves, but they weren't starting until a few weeks after, so I ended up doing 2 pre-seasons basically. Went back and done another pre-season, which obviously it's probably the most intense part of the season, and just got a pain like around that area, and
you don't need to rub it, mate.
It's
just to be clear, if you're listening to this,
I did rub it there.
He's rubbing his own, not Grado's.
Well, just like felt a pain there, and it was actually really lucky because being at a club like Liverpool, any kind of injury they flag up gets sent away for a scan. So if I was at other places, maybe it wouldn't got picked up. But anyway, got that and kind of had it for a while, and ended up having to, long story short, I had to take out a bit of time from the game because my contract ran out, but I was still struggling with it. And ended up going back up the road for a little bit Thursday because I had done a lot of different rehabs, but was kind of never really taken a break. And on the advice of the club doctor who stayed in contact with me at Liverpool after I had left Liverpool, who's actually Doc Mark Waller. He's actually at Rangers now, but a great guy.
Was that like an older guy?
Amazing guy, absolutely. A lot to thank him for. Stayed in touch and was just like, I mean, we've tried a lot, we've done a lot. I think, completely have a rest and be off it. So that's what I done. I went up to Thursday and just completely chilled, but never in my head was I thinking, I'm not going to make it back at football. It was always like, if my body allows rest and start feeling all right again, I can, slowly climb up.
Who would you have been playing with at that time, or who would you have been running around with or seeing around the club at Liverpool?
They just won the Champions League. No, they won the Champions League in 2005. I went down, it must have been 2008, yeah, because the summer I went, they just lost the Champions League final to AC Milan. So, but you're obviously Gerrard's. They were at the top of the kind of ladder in Europe as well, like Champions League finals. Torres, Alonso, Mascherano. They had an amazing squad, to be honest, at that time. Yeah.
Do you ever keep in touch with any of those guys? Would they have ever looked down at the Wains?
I mean, your Steven Gerrards, your Jeremy Carragher's, the British guys were great with the young ones. They were like always, you trained with them, or around the training ground, they couldn't help you enough. The foreign ones were, but yeah, you were kind of in awe of them, but they spoke. There was a lot of Spanish speaking people. It was Rafa Benitez at the time. He had a lot of Spanish, but no, it was kind of superstars everywhere kind of thing.
Any good stories about those lads?
Jermaine Pennant was there, and he was a bit of a
shyness.
He was a character, yeah. Although his stuff didn't go down well with Benitez. I remember one time I wasn't training, but we were in the reserves. The reserves trained at Melwood as well, and it was just the reserves in the first team. So we were in doing a gym session or doing something, but the first team were out training, or everyone was out training apart from Pennant. So Rafa Benitez kind of had them like just before training, you know, talking them through what they're going to do. So everyone's like really serious, you know, well respected manager. And Pennant was hiding behind a floodlight, just shouting Rafa like in a like a stupid voice, and then eventually like just sprinted and just done a big slide tackle through the boys, like through, I don't know who he took out, but he was just a idiot kind of thing. And obviously the boys laughed, like everyone but Benitez, I don't think, liked all that sort of stuff. But Pennant just kind of done it nonetheless, just to do whatever.
Was Stevie G a banter merchant?
Not that I remember. He was quite serious, although he was the most, you could see everyone, even the, you know, your Torres, your Alonso's, your big guys that came in and done well. Gerrard was the top man, really, all the time. Yeah.
So then, how come? So you play, you train with Liverpool, Fulham. How does the move come about to go back up to Scotland with Airdrie, and how did that affect you? Obviously, you're training with English teams, Premier League teams, and then the next minute you're back up the road at Airdrie.
Yeah, well, it was. Yeah, seeing I needed to completely rest, it was like, oh well, now I'll go back to Thurso, where my mum and my dad and my family were, and just be back up there, kind of back up in the, like, where nothing's kind of about football wise. But you know, my agent was great at the time. He was still like supportive. He was like, no, get yourself right, and like, you know, when you feel you can like kind of get back, I'll see what's out there for you and stuff. And that's I rested for a period of time, and then when I would go out, I remember going out, like obviously having the rest, but then I would go out to the park, like just do little bits of a ball, and then like slowly sort of build up my cell, and then be like, yeah, I feel alright, not sore, you know, at nights and that, and then it got to the point where see what's out there if I can get back. And Airdrie was the first club that kind of my agent said to me. I was like, funnily, my sister lived in Edinburgh, and I was like, I could go down and stay with her and then train at Airdrie, and that's how I kind of got back in.
It's a hell of a difference though from West London
to
Airdrie.
It was
did you think about chucking it? Did you think this is game over?
No, to be honest, I never did. It was strange, like never ever did. Like even, you know, being in the reserves at Liverpool, and then, you know, seeing, you know, they've just played a Champions League final, these boys, you train with them the odd occasion as well, and then from not too long from that to being, you know, well, thinking what's going to happen, like being in pain and just completely resting. I always thought, you know, if my body's all right, I'll just I'll get back in, I'll enjoy it. I'll like if my body's allows me, kind of, because it was a strange injury. It just didn't give it enough time to heal, but it was absolutely perfect again. And just getting back playing football. It wasn't like, oh, my Airdrie, geez, I should be there. It was just enjoyed to be back playing, and just always was like, I'll get there again for sure.
And you weren't there for long?
No, I was only there, I think, from January, maybe 6 months to the summer. And then even during that time, I was training in at Dundee United. They asked me to come and train sometimes. And
who's responsible for sort of rekindling your career then at United?
Well, it was Jimmy Boyle at Airdrie. He was the manager at Airdrie, and he was great with me, and just probably Jimmy Boyle. I mean, it was my agent that sorted Airdrie, but Jimmy Boyle was great. And then from Dundee United, it was Peter Houston at the time, and I was lucky, a great bunch at Dundee United, but Peter Houston, and then at Dundee United, I think is a great club as well for bringing young boys through and you know, stuff. So it was a great place to be, and it just started from there. And you know, Johnny Russell, like you said, we mentioned before, you had Johnny, it was Goodwill, he was flying at the time before he got his big move down to Blackburn, and there was a lot of really, really talented boys. So
was that a good laugh, that dressing room?
It was.
I know the answer to that.
It was. There was always something going on in that dressing room. It was ridiculous. It was kind of crazy all the time. There were big characters everywhere. And as we went along as well, like I went in, you had a lot of senior players as well. John Daly, Sean Dillon, but just as the years it was always a good dressing room. It was always filled with idiots.
And what kind of idiotic behaviour would they have come up with?
That's right. David, do not apologise.
It was I don't even know.
It's a podcast. So
there'd be a dartboard. There was dartboards, so there'd be just for a laugh, you'd throw a dart and it'd land at someone, you'd be out the shower and it'd land at their bare feet just for a laugh, but it got out of hand, darts would be flying about.
Any scraps, any rolling about the flare? Naked?
Yeah, naked fights, there was a lot of naked shenanigans in the shower. There was a lot of boys that loved shower time, and I mind we had a Polish goalkeeper, Radoslav Czerniak, later on, but
good player.
Just used to either come in early and get a shower quick, or
just to avoid it all.
Just to avoid it all, because people would be slapping each other's arses and just peeing on each other. Just as you do. But shower time was a lot.
Who was the worst? Come on.
There was.
Everybody was into it.
There were so many. No, it was select the Glaswegian ones. Your Johnny Russell was always at the heart of things.
Oh, he never mentioned
Barry
that,
Douglas.
did he?
No.
David Goodwill, he was, when I first went, was always up to something. But just there was, I mean, later on as we went, you had other big characters like Michael Gardyne, Gavin Gunnan, Mark Miller. All these guys were just so loud, but I mean, just in a great way. Everyone got on, but it was just anything went, really. It was kind of, you say, obviously football's not work at the best of times, but it was just a constant something
just
going on.
Carry on.
Yeah, it was a laugh.
And just before we finish Dundee United, I've got a nice text here from Tim Sunday Gardner on Twitter. He says, has Gary got unfinished business, and would you like to play for the Arabs again?
I don't have any unfinished business. I certainly hope to get promoted and get back. And I think even with the owners now and the kind of where they want to go, I think if they get promoted, they'll go from strength to strength. So I look from afar, and I love to see them do well. But
mate, you're in New York. You can go to any nightclub you want. I'm sure fucking Fat Sam's can wait.
Yeah, that's what a place.
Contrast, if you will, the view from your house in Thurso and the view from your digs right now. So tell me about Thurso first and contrast it.
Jeez, Thurso wasn't too shabby view for sure. In Thurso, you used to look onto. Certainly different, but I used to look onto Orkney. So for bedroom, you could see the sea, and you can see Orkney. There's a structure that's I don't know what you would call it, but it's called the Old Man of Hoy.
Yeah, the Old Man of Hoy. Yeah, the rock outcrop.
Aye,
I've
so
never heard of this.
That was
a column.
Yeah, it's a column. So that's been replaced by the Empire State Building now. So it's a little bit different.
What's the best thing about living in New York?
It's just the fact that you've got literally everything you could ever want on your doorstep. I love going out for food. I love, said nightclubs. If you want to do anything, you've got literally hundreds of options. So it's mad. It's a million miles an hour, but it's certainly for right now for me. It's just amazing. You come back from training, you could chill, or you go into the city, you could see a show, you could literally it's
best
funny.
show you've seen?
Lion King, surely that.
The best show I'd seen,
Aladdin,
yeah, I saw Aladdin recently. I thought it was amazing.
It was good, wasn't it? Aye.
Amazing.
Aye.
See Aladdin, yeah, with the genie.
The genie's the best, isn't he?
The genie's class.
But see, they change the genie about sometimes. I think 6 months a year it's somebody, and then it's somebody else.
Really? The bit that got me was when they go into, to get the lamp in the cave.
Aye,
that setting's ridiculous.
It's amazing, isn't it? The way it works.
Yeah.
And you think, man, they're doing that twice a day.
I know. That's you're just entertained. We
The
play
genie's
football and
good,
stuff.
I think the genie follows me in Tottenham as well.
Really?
No, seriously, because he's a mega wrestling fan.
Really?
Aye.
Oh, I was blown away. It was standing ovation for me. So stuff like that's really cool to see.
That's terrific.
And but Aladdin was up there for me.
You seen Lion King?
One of my mates plays the
I've not
Sultan.
seen the Lion
Lion
King.
King's alright, mate.
Really?
Lion King's alright. It's not as
said
good as
Lion
Singing.
King.
What else is good? You seen Blue Man Group?
I've seen Jersey Boys.
Anybody want to go and see Jersey Boys?
Joyzy.
They're always
It's Joyzy.
popping that in the street.
Matilda. I saw a lot. To be
I like to
fair.
go and see Matilda.
Matilda
That'd
was
be good, eh?
crazy as well. Another amazing.
How do these compare?
Chicago one time, but
How do these compare? How does Broadway compare to Pinocchio at the Glasgow Pavilion, starring Mr. G. Rado?
I would love to come and see that to compare. I can't comment right now, but that'll be.
Ask him for free tickets, guys.
Yeah, I'm here
Can't
for a
get free
bit.
tickets.
So, in the run up to Christmas, I'll make an appearance.
Mate,
for
he
sure.
plays for New York City FC. I'm sure he can afford 4 tickets to.
Do you know what we've not mentioned yet?
What?
What's the football like?
Aye, what is the football like?
We're too busy finding
VAR.
out
Look at VAR. I didn't know they
The
had
soccer.
VAR.
The soccer, yeah. Yeah, we do have VAR, which I'm dead against. I don't like VAR.
I
at
don't
all.
think aimed it. I mean,
Does it not work over there?
Does, I mean, but it's just stop start. And my feeling as well, even with a decision, like, you're still talking about it, whether it's right or wrong. So it's strange, you know.
Do the Americans do it better than they do in England, which is an absolute shambles, the way that they operate it?
It's the same. It's like, you know, it'll go, but then there'll be decisions, but it's not clear and obvious or something, so it won't go to VAR. I just feel, you know, I think, well, it's just my opinion, but like if something maybe kind of happened that maybe was right or wrong and it was a talking point after the game, I think that's part of it. It's part of if a referee made a mistake or something. Like, for the most part, they get things right, but you know, that's part of football. I think VAR has not sorted that out. There's still whether it's right or wrong, and yeah.
What's your message then to the Scottish FA and the SPFL on the subject of that, if they're thinking about doing it?
I just keep things as the way they are. I feel
don't
we
touch
get
it.
too more into technology, and goal line technology would be good but other stuff, you know, with handballs and just there's different rules that seem to keep on coming, and yeah, I think we can go too much into changing rules, and football's just football. Have the ref and have, you know, the talking points after a game, whether right or wrong, but that's my opinion.
Now listen, 37 seconds, you're a rotten 37 seconds at the start of your Celtic career, but it picked up after 37 seconds, didn't it?
Yeah, jeez. Aye, the debut at Partick Thistle was funny because obviously it was me and Stuart Armstrong's as well. Both our debuts, and he ended up scoring not long after me. So yeah, it couldn't have gone better. It was kind of crazy debut. It was mental, but yeah, it was funny.
Your dad must have been a very proud father that you signed for Celtic then, huh?
Yeah, it was a big thing, certainly for my family, and the majority up the road is Celtic. Even there's Celtic supporters bus that goes still to this day, Thurso, to travel to all the games, which is mad. So yeah, it was a big thing, and Celtic, massive club. It's
And
great to be involved.
did it feel better for you signing alongside Stuart? Was that a kind of added bonus?
It was, but I didn't know we were signing at the same time. It was
kept hush hush between each other.
Yeah, he was very silent about that. It was kind of, I'd signed, actually, it was the January, and I'd signed a pre-contract, so I was going to go in the summer. So it had been done, but then I remember transfer deadline day. I was in Edinburgh. I think it was at my sister's having dinner, and then it was about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night, and getting a text being like, not a text, a phone call from my agent, like, listen, you need to, where are you? You need to get your car, you need to be ready because I think it's going to go through tonight. And so it was, I straight away had to get to actually an Edinburgh hospital, a private hospital, not too far from where I was, but I did my medical there, and it took, a few hours, 2 or 3 hours, and then it was straight away driven to Celtic Park, and it was really late on the deadline day. You know, it's mad how transfers or stuff can happen so late. Aye. But it was crazy, but I just thought it was me, it was happening, and then I got to Celtic Park, and I went into Peter Lawwell's room, and that's the first time when I saw Stuart was there as well signing.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I mind speaking to him earlier the day, like, must have been in the afternoon, like, because there was rumours about Celtic wanted Stu as well, And I remember saying like, "Oh, where are you right now?" And like just joking about, "Are you like going down to Celtic?" Or I think there was a few clubs like, "Where are you?" Definitely be signing for someone.
And at this point, do you know that you're going to play for Celtic?
I knew. Yeah, I'd be going in the summer.
Right.
So yeah, that had been sorted. Me going in the summer. But Stu just kind of kicked, obviously, interest, but he was really cards close to his chest, and he knew fine well at this time, but he didn't let it on.
Typical lawyer.
Typical lawyer. But there was a few clubs interested in him, so I didn't know. But anyway, it happened. But it was just such a whirlwind from getting my medical and then literally racing across the road to get it done in time. Before like midnight or whatever it was.
It was that close to the bone, is that right?
It was close, yeah. But I mean, quite often there's a lot of close. It's weird the deals that get done on that day.
How does it work? Do you sign something and then do they fax it through to somewhere? How does it all, like, on deadline day? What's the procedure, do you know?
Yeah, loads of stuff gets faxed through, but I mean, your agent and stuff, it can be done in any place, but everything needs to be ironed out right and then sent back to Celtic, but then sent to like the SPL, I think, or the FA, or the SFA. So there's so many stuff that needs to get done before. And obviously it's not a case of just, that's through at like midnight, that's fine. They need to go through it. So even at night, like it's a long process before, and you need to be thorough with everything. And that's why...
Thorough.
Really
thorough.
Was that Caithness or
I don't know if that was Caithness or Jersey coming through, I'm sorry. Yeah, so it takes a while, and it wasn't until I got in Celtic Park, I saw Stu, and then obviously clicked, and yeah, it was a cool moment, so and certainly.
Wow. That night you signed, do you get pictures with the strips, or is that kept for another time? Is it a matter of, right, it's went through, right, let's get the scarf, let's get the photographer, or was it a matter of, sign it, you've signed, we'll deal with business later on?
It was, seeing it was so late, it was just signed, done, and then it was probably announced, yeah, it would have been, but it was the next day where we went back and you put on the strip
pictures and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
What was Ronnie Deila like? Because he presented the image of a fellow who was slightly bewildered by the whole thing, and he said in interviews since then, that he probably needed the drink to help him through some of the days, and woke up, he wasn't sleeping well and all that. How did you find Ronnie Deila?
Good. A lot of time I enjoyed his training. It was different, but it was high intensity. It was really kind of. He had a lot of coaches, but he had a nutritionist that come in that kind of had different views on, what you should eat and stuff. You're used to as a footballer eating pasta and energy, just what
macaroni.
You eat. Carbonara, spag, but just like chicken and pasta. But he was totally against kind of carbs, and it was like fat. You're used to what you're eating, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, all right, I'll try this because this is what I'm getting told and this is what's being served in the canteen, and it just didn't seem right. I mean,
did you run out of gas in games? I remember the Inverness semi-final, for example.
I think it's hard to know. You didn't feel amazing, but I think your body does eventually adapt. But then at the back of your head, you're thinking you're eating fat, bacon and sausage. I remember eating, and there was cream. There was big emphasis, you'd have maybe. I also remember Emilio Izagiri, so obviously we got told this cream was good, high, fat. It's good for
fats.
It's fat, but you burn it off. Your body will be used to using fat instead of carbohydrates and all this, and you might have for dessert, you'd have a few berries and maybe a yogurt or something like that for sure, but cream and Emilio Izagiri, the cream was beautiful. It was double whipped cream, but Emilio Izagiri used to have a bowl of cream, and it was literally the biggest bowl of cream and berries on top, and obviously because he loved it, and he was getting told it was good for him and stuff. So it was just bizarre things like that was a little bit but it's obviously different cultures, different.
Did it work against you?
Maybe looking back, it wasn't the best thing to do, because I remember the boys all kind of we did have other stuff, but kind of got frowned upon if you took the pasta, and it was you're getting ready for games and stuff.
Did you get it completely wrong?
It was, I'd say certainly the boys didn't agree with it, and then it kind of caused there would maybe be games you didn't feel great, whether you actually ran out of gas, which you did, but then even if you didn't, it was in the back of your head, well, I've had that for pre-match, and you're like, so I agree with you. You eat what you know and what has got you to that point, and certainly, that was a big thing that maybe he tried to change that certainly didn't work.
Who were the crazy people at Celtic? What were the mad things that happened there?
Scott Brown's so like in the changing room, such a.
Is he the man? Is he the?
He is a man. Yeah, he's unbelievable. Obviously on the park, he's so, focused and intense, and gets in the zone for games. But away from in the training ground, he's the one that welcomes everyone. He's a big kid around the place, but in a great way. Like he's, when it's work time, it's. He's...
And is he the guy that would maybe stand up to, Deila and go, we can't be eating this shit?
Yeah, well, definitely, you had a lot of big personalities. Chris Commons, you had back then massive players, obviously Virgil van Dijk, so many players that were big players. But, Scott Brown was the captain, and you had Chris Commons, you had... Michael Lustig was a big vocal guy in the changing room, and after a while it was just, you could tell, even though his training was good and we'd done well, it was just certain points, things. But Scott Brown would have been the guy that kind of would has a big say. Yeah,
right.
Lift the lid on Van Dijk. What was he like?
As a player or as a guy?
As a guy, I mean, we know it was like
amazing. Going back to the very first game, at Partick Thistle, I remember being on the bus, and he was just so a big chilled out guy, but great. Even with the new guy, me and Stu, I was sitting on the bus, and we both knew we were starting that game. And he just came over to me and was like, just relax, just play what you've been playing, play your own game, and enjoy it. It's amazing. And I don't know, he would sort you out, he'd help, he'd talk a lot, and just lead by example as well. So amazing guy. And training, going to football, I mind he used to take our free kicks at that point. He used to score free kicks that, your centre half, but he just used to cruise it. He was great.
Listen, we're going way over time here, but it's League Cup final weekend, Breadfruit Cup final weekend. You played in last year's final. Do you remember playing in it?
I got. I remember. I do remember. Obviously, I remember the cross coming in, and I remember being on the stretcher going when I eventually came round. But scary thing, to be honest. It was probably one of the worst injuries I had in terms of. I wasn't right. I was fine in terms of I had no memory loss, which can happen for concussions. I had no fractures, thankfully, but I just had a dull headache for best part of 2 months, 6 weeks anyway. It was horrible, and to the point where obviously we had a run of games in December after that. The whole month, and then you have the January break, and I remind my first training session was in January break, so mid-January, feeling 6 weeks after, but still not being right until the end of the month. Just been having to be so careful because it's crazy thing. Obviously every concussion is ultimately a brain injury, and it was the strangest thing to kind of go through. It was to the point where you couldn't, I'd go in and I'd feel all right, but they'd be like, you need to say if you have any sort of headache, and I did. I had to say, well, I do, as much as I wanted to train, I wasn't allowed to go on a bike, I wasn't to do anything. I'd just go in the morning, the physio would ask how I am, and I'd do a test on an iPad that, to start with, wasn't great, but I got better at that. It wasn't so much that, it was just this headache that I'd had and they can't say, it's going to be this, you'll be fine by next week. It's literally next week came and I was still the same, and it was a horrible thing.
Well, just remind us what happened in injury wise and who did it, and can you forgive him?
It was actually a boy I'm good pals with, Daryl Bayata. his head, abs the hardest head ever. But a cross just came in, and I remember. Well, I don't remember, but I've seen it. I've headed it, and he's just obviously tried to clear it. But when I've headed to the side, he's just full force come into the side of my head, and I remember I landed, kind of bounced my head again, and so. But he couldn't have been, obviously, even after the week after, I couldn't use my phone for ages because I couldn't look at screens, and I had to stay in dark rooms for ages, which was another.
Wow.
Because lights and all that which has hurt my head more. So he was, I remember he was pestering my girlfriend for so long because eventually he got she was the one taking messages or whatever, and he was like, oh, can I come see him? And he he won the game amazing, but he was really worried about wanted to come see me, but I couldn't see people for a while and I couldn't use my phone for a while. But he must
have been biffing out that he wasn't getting a reply, was he?
Yeah, he was he was just for a while, but he was worried. But I was in good hands at the time. And actually, it's funny because he obviously continued and had to go off later on with, I think it was a hamstring injury, but he went off with. But he says he can't remember the game, which kind of, obviously I know a lot about concussion from after. He was obviously concussed as well because he can't remember anything about the game, whereas I can. And I was like, mate, you were concussed. So it was kind of lucky he had to come off because concussion, it's not to be kind of
mess about with him.
No.
Do you look back in Aberdeen and wish fitness had played a different hand in it?
Yeah, certainly my last season was like that, cup final, we were going well, and then was out with that for a while, and then I came back in another Scottish Cup, and the cups are obviously you want to do well in the league with Aberdeen, but there's a big emphasis on the cups, so I felt it would have been nice to finish with a trophy.
Did you ever think that Derek was going to leave Aberdeen? Did you think that he was off at the point where
the Rangers?
Aye.
Yeah, I guess we did. He was away for about a week, I think, and the assistants were taking training, or not even the assistant, not Tony Docherty. He wasn't there either for a few days. Paul Sheeran,
Marshall still there? Gordon was.
Yeah, he was, and Barry Robson was there, so they were taking training. And obviously, as a player, it's weird. You hear things, but you don't I mean, people ask me, and say, "Wait, you really don't know anything as a player." Yeah. You know the same as everyone else. So we were just going and obviously it talks, and then it was a second day and a third day, and we were like,
he's off.
Yeah, for sure. It was mad, but it was kind of weird when he came back as well. It was didn't even say anything about it. It was like the first time he kind of got us and was like, oh, had yous there, lads.
Nah, did you? Yeah. Is that what he done, aye?
And
so he did acknowledge it and say
no, he didn't say what had happened. It was just like, oh, had yous all there, and then we trained.
And that was it?
And it was back to normal. So it was really strange because obviously, I'm not sure, but yeah, as a player, you do when a manager goes. And
did you like being an Old Firm player? Did you like the baggage that came included with it?
Yeah, it was amazing. It's kind of, you don't realise how big a club is until you play. You do, but you don't until you're actually in it and seeing how much it means to people and seeing just everything about it. It's amazing. And obviously when it's going well, it's great. And then when if you
draw,
you draw. It's kind of like the end of the world, and it's an eye opener to start with. It was a bit mad, but you learn to kind of embrace it. And it's funny when you actually play and you kind of are in a bubble in some aspects. Like if, say for instance, there's a lot of games, you're in a hotel the night before a game, and then under Deila to start with, we were in hotels before home games as well. That changed.
Oh, really?
That changed because it was too much. But you'd train and then you'd be away in a hotel, and then game, Busted Stadium, you'd play, and then you'd recover, and then you'd spend a lot of time in hotels and just amongst the team and the boys. So you didn't really, when you go into town, which shopping, people be like, oh, blah blah blah, what, like speak to you or whatever. You realise, but when you're just playing and in hotels and you're just amongst the boys, you're in a bubble, if that makes sense.
Aye.
So
Did you know it was game over for Ronnie when you lost the Old Firm game on penalties in the cup?
yeah, probably because was it the Inverness game where we got knocked out the cup as well, or one cup? It's just results like that, and yeah, obviously we were expected to beat Rangers at Rangers.
They were in the championship at the
Yeah,
time.
exactly, and they scored. Obviously, the goal to go 2-1 up was an amazing goal, and it came to a penalty shootout. But he's just, the atmosphere after that, it didn't really recover because, it was a very, very bad result, and it was tough for him after that. And even this second season was when we didn't qualify for the Champions League. We got knocked out against Malmo, and then we're in the Europa League. But it's funny. The season kind of goes into a lull for a bit of time because it's almost like that's at the start of the season. If you don't qualify for that, that's like
Sets the tone.
It sets the tone, and then obviously this year has been great. If you have a good Europa League group, and that gets the big games as well, big game feels. But losing against Malmo and having been ahead in the first leg was a kind of lull. So that season it was kind of strange, and it never really recovered. So.
Anything else we need to talk about?
Well, we've just wanted a couple of questions.
Nothing else.
Good. Well, that's it. Yeah.
I mean,
It's all
I could go through a list of some of the questions that
Is this the
they
tweets?
seem quite related for some reason. I've got Michael Cardano here is asking. First of all, he's asking for some reason he wants to know your favourite river in New York. But at the same time, Simon MC82 says, do you use a float or swimming bands when you swim? Kyle Patterson, Sasa is asking, did you get your bronze swimming certificate?
It's real funny.
Kyle
Sasha.
Patterson, how cold is the Kelvin at this time of year?
Very.
What happened that night, Gary?
Well, Fraser Ross sums
What
it up
a
quite nicely.
night.
Oh no, here we've got David, somebody else.
The River Kelvin story in depth.
See what you done there?
Says
Well
Fraser
done.
Ross. Well done, Fraser. Pun of the day.
All I can say is what a night that was. Unbelievable.
You don't say.
Unbelievable night.
How was it? How was the night leading up to that incident? Was it going swimmingly?
Honestly, it was. No word to lie. It was a brilliant night. It was even before it came out, before it kind of hit me how maybe bad it was or how dangerous it was. Unbelievable. It was just one of these nights that kind of got a wee bit out of hand. It was funny. It was actually. I had a party. I had a flat party. After a game, we'd played Partick Thistle. We won. I didn't actually play, which was maybe a good thing for later on. I had the energy to keep afloat.
Hey!
But no, we won, and yeah.
You won. You actually talked to Andy Murray a wee bit, didn't you? We won. Sorry, but just put about that now.
I don't know. So I had a flat party, and
I'm gripped by this.
I know it's good. I'm excited. Sorry, right, keep going. Because David, I've told you I was involved in this incident. You know that.
That's amazing.
At the time, I worked in the fire brigade control room.
It was you that leaked it to the press.
I wasn't. That's because you said fucking Loch Ness Monster instead of Grado.
If you said Grado, I would have been all over it. But Grado, it's like, what are you talking about, mate?
Hang on, pause it a second. We'll pause it. You've just not played against Thistle and on the bevy. What do you mean you were? Did you get the 999 call?
I think the call came for. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this, but I don't want it anymore. But I'm sure the call came in for the ambulance service. A report of a male in. It wasn't the Clyde, wasn't it? No, it was the Kelvin.
Yeah.
Aye. So obviously that's.
I was heading towards the Clyde, but no,
it was a. You would have been, aye. So that comes under as a water rescue incident. So obviously we had no idea. I mean, it didn't come in. The call wasn't. Gary MacKay-Steven is in the water. It was, one male.
That didn't come
If you'd known it was an Aberdeen player, you were an Aberdeen player at the time, weren't you?
Yeah, I was Aberdeen.
Would you have just hung up?
No, I wouldn't have done that, David.
Thought about it. So guys, you're having a great time. Couple of glasses of wine, or what was your drink be in those days?
There was a couple of glasses of wine. There was. I'd made this punch, which was probably like rocket fuel. But it wasn't that. I don't think we'd gone. So we'd had the flat party. It was a laugh. There's a lot of people there, and then we went to Sanctuary. I just remember this bit vaguely, but I ran to the bar, and I just remember, I think it was to get around the Jaeger bombs in. I didn't actually have the Jaeger bombs because I got a punch. A guy swung kind of from behind.
Oh, nice.
Well, for no reason.
Well, yeah, exactly, for no reason. And but it was kind of like through a Malia crowd, you know.
It was a shiter. It was a shiter punch.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And then I'd turned around, and then it was kind of a scuffle. But there was loads of people, and then for whatever reason, the bouncer who's actually who kind of helped with sorting the table and that was obviously recognised. He was like got me out of the situation. But I got thrown out, like, or not thrown out, but it's like, you need to go, like, for my own good, really, because, you know, you don't, like, want to be in a fight or anything like that. But it was in the back door, so got put out the back door, but with my mates, so we went out the back door, but I'd never been out the back door. So I just, like, literally was like, oh, it's ridiculous, having a good night, like, blah, blah, blah. So we just wandered a lot, like, we'll go somewhere else. And I jumped over this wall. I just remember a wall vaguely. Like, not a big wall, but went over it. And yeah, all of a sudden, like, I'm in the river. And, like, I kind of fell. So I'm, like, right, like, in the river. And obviously it was a laugh at the time. Like, obviously I was, had a few drinks. But as soon as I got in the river, I was like, jeez, I'm in the river here. This is like an absolute nightmare.
You would notice that.
But I just remember like kind of shuffling about, and then I got caught, like not caught, but there was like kind of rapids, and next minute I'm just straight down the river. Like,
you're joking. You must have been shitting yourself.
That's the thing.
Too drunk to even.
Nah, I wasn't too drunk because from there onwards,
survivor
like,
mode.
From Sanctuary, from what happened in Sanctuary, from getting out, and like I say, the wall, I can't even say, like I saw the wall again, be like, not sure about, like,
how far is the drop from that wall?
It wasn't like I didn't fall, like free fall, like I just jumped over, and I kind of remember falling because it's slippy, and like I was kind of went down, but it wasn't that deep of the, like, but it was obviously, it was really slippy. There were stones, I was slipped, and then I just remember, like, well, I remember well. Like, it's funny. I remember that well. I remember really, like, fast rapids. And obviously, like, it's funny. Like, since then, they've been like, oh, you can't swim. You can't, like, it was because I can swim that it helped greatly. But, yeah, all of a sudden, in rapids, and I'm kind of, like, straight down. And I go under, like, a bridge or under a tunnel or something because it goes. Yeah, so I'm, like, kind of swept right down. But I'm kind of in a position, like, and I had the worst shoes on in the world. I had these shoes that were the heaviest shoes probably in my collection. They're like two anchors on my feet. So I remember, like, my feet being out in front of me, and I'm kind of, like, shuffling, like, on my hand. But, like, you'd go under and then back up. But then in my head, I'm thinking at the sides, like, it's dark, but I'm thinking the sides, it wasn't easy to get out in bits. So I'm like, oh, at one point I'll get out, there'll be a side where I got out, but yeah, I got swept a good bit, yeah.
And so where did you get fished out then?
I don't know the exact spot. I've not been back.
Deliberately?
Where?
Have you deliberately not gone back? I mean,
deliberately, no. I'd love to go back.
About it?
No, it's completely the opposite.
It seems as if it's no phased you at all. I mean, I'd have been,
it's funny because
really?
I really,
especially it being dark as well. I kind of think I'd be anything worse than being in water.
It's funny because when I got in it, I was like, gee, like I remember laughing, thinking, geez, like this is ridiculous. Like, how's this night going from amazing night to being out back door, and then all of a sudden I'm like in the middle of the water. And I was so when, like, my mates, when I say, like, Stu was one of them. Like, there was Scotty Wright for Aberdeen. There's some of my brother, I think my brother and my sister, they were home by this point because it was later. But when was at that bit, like, Stu was there, and I think he didn't want to get his Russell and Bromley's wet or something. That's why he didn't come in after me. But he obviously, so they, like, him and like a few others saw me getting, like, swept, and obviously that's like they were the ones that were like, Jeez,
Who
like
called the
really
cops?
worried. Like I'm not sure who called. It would have been him or maybe my girlfriend. I'm not sure because there was a lot of people there, as I say, and obviously for them they were like saw me being gone away really, and they were like Jesus. But in my head, like honestly, I wasn't like
You're calm.
not even calm, just kind of like it seems weird, but like thinking, what an
It's outrageous.
absolute idiot! Like how's this happening? You know what I mean?
Was there a point where you thought, I'm going to die here, or at best my football career's over? Because
Nah,
you're lucky
like-
you weren't smashed into a bridge.
Nothing
Joyce.
like that. Nothing. Literally, it was a laugh. It was.
You shouldn't laugh because I've dealt with lots of incidents over the years in that River Kelvin, and I've had a lot of fatalities out there, so you should be lucky. I think it's a
Oh,
fucking-
I'm
astonishing.
thankful, but this is at the own time how, in my head, what it was like, and so happened. It was in for a while. Got obviously.
When you say a while, how long?
I think it was 50 minutes. I was in
15.
50 minutes. Yeah,
And you did end up with hypothermia, right?
yeah. I had mild hypothermia. So I get.
And was it hold on, was it the firefighters that got you, or was it the ambulance, or was it?
Was it no you? No,
I think it was the fire. It would have been firefighters.
The
with
Coast
boat.
Guard, or?
No, I think it would have been because the Coast Guard's just on the coast.
You're lucky it wasn't the Glasgow Humane Society.
Yeah,
Or it
so-
could have been George Parsonage. There's a guy
Yeah,
called George Parsonage.
that's the-
Aye.
Aye, so
I think he fishes out corpses. And it
Yes,
might have been
exactly.
yeah,
very,
but
very
I
close
remember,
to,
I remember getting to a point of thinking. So going down like that, I remember not every bit, but certainly at the start there was like rapids, and you were going quite fast flowing. But I remember then it getting shallower and just being able to hold on. But the sides where I was like steep. So I was thinking, I knew, the Clyde would be crazy. So, and it was cold, but where I was, I could stop. And I was like getting my bearings then and looking around. Obviously, it was pitch black, but it was like above. I wasn't like, I'm freezing. Like it was nothing like that. It was just like, well, what do I do here? Kind of assessing my next. And then, yeah, the police boat I think got me. And that night, so I obviously had a little bit of hypothermia, and I was in
Was it
overnight.
Queen Elizabeth Hospital you went to?
Yeah, it would have been, I think.
Aye.
Yeah, and I was on, I think, a drip or something just to like warm up, and obviously it was the worst night for all my friends and all like that were out with me, because in that moment it was like it wasn't until probably 1 or 2 hours that they were at the police station, and obviously just were thinking the worst, and like I kind of like. It didn't for me. It was like it was bad, but not in my head at the time. It was not like this is so serious. It didn't kind of hit me that geez, that was close call until a little bit after. So
Did you get
If
a police?
you're-
Sorry. Did the police give you any kind of warning or anything like that, or were they just?
none. So I go straight to the hospital, and I get sorted, and then I remember like being like, I got a drip or something just to like get stuff in me, and obviously like I felt brand new the next day, like dodged the hangover, amazing. But then my
if you take on plenty of water, you'll be fine.
my
Maybe another Kelvin.
I remember my missus came then later to the hospital, because obviously after, but they were all distraught, and I remember getting out the next day and going to my flat where a lot of my mates and people had stayed, and I remember bouncing in and kind of having it as a joke, because at this point I was still like, jeez, what a mad night, sorry guys, like sorry for leaving, like, and they were all like on the sofa, like kind of like the worst night of their lives, if you know what I mean. My girlfriend's same, like just obviously thought the worst, which I can see now, but at the time I was like, because I felt good as well, like no hangover. I'm saying I bounded in. I was like, "Jeez, lads, what a night, eh? What about that?" But from like seeing me go down the river and then calling, and then police and firemen and like so many people coming, and then them like have like loads of them had to give statements to the police at the police station. They waited at the police station, and obviously I could see that, because if I was in that position, I would be like, "This is the worst ever." But me actually doing it was completely different until that kind of hit home, and I was like, whoa, so sorry for what like I kind of put them through.
If you haven't been taught to swim, if you're not a professional footballer, do you die that night in August?
Yeah, I mind like stuff like survival guys and like stuff kind of like spoke on the subject after, and how like I'd been in for that length of time, and it was maybe September time, and just the way it is, and obviously having drank, it was so dangerous. And like I joked about how I didn't play, how I had energy, like it's like if you couldn't swim and couldn't, it was because it was kind of mental, because I remember just going like being underwater, like going pretty fast and then being up, and then so it was mental looking back. But even after it, I remember people getting in touch thinking, because obviously you'd think the worst, like why did I jump, but it was literally like just that circumstances, a night that got out of hand, and being a laugh, and just the river being there and thinking, geez, it wasn't like, oh, we're jumping the river, like it's like couldn't have been further from the truth. So it was like just one of them nights that you're like, and it was funny as well because I'll tell you one thing that was bizarre. In the hospital, so about it must have been later on, like 6 or 7 in the morning, the nurse kind of came through, and was like, all right, all checks are good, you can get out, but you just need to tell me where you are. And like this is the thing I remember most clear. I was like, yeah, no problem, golf course. And the nurse was like, no, have a look around, where are you? And I remember sitting there kind of looking at monitors, looking at like the wires, blah, 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 my bed. I was like, yeah, the golf course. And she was like, right. And my girlfriend was sitting in the corner, and she was like, Gary, and she'd had obviously a hell of a night, crazy night. Eventually she was in the hospital, but she was like obviously wanting to go home, like everything was okay, but she was like, she couldn't tell me where I was, like I had to work out for myself. Like the nurse obviously told her he needs to do this before he can release him. And the nurse was like, oh no, I'll go away for half an hour and come back because we can't. And I was convinced I was at the golf course. And then so in my head I'm like, right, what's she on about? She's at it here. So the nurse went back, and then I remember my girlfriend going, Gary, look around, like look everywhere. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you're not at the golf course. I'm like, yeah, that nurse is at it. But she couldn't say too much to me. And then eventually half an hour comes back, the nurse comes out, where are you? And I'm thinking, I can't say golf course because
I'm not at the golf course.
Not at the golf course, obviously. So I said, she came back, and bear in mind, I'd only been at Aberdeen a couple of months, like September, a couple of months probably. And she was, where are you, Gary? Like, and you've had a chance to, and I was like, yeah, I'm at Union Street. Union Street
in Aberdeen.
In Aberdeen, Union Street. And she was like, no, you're not at Union Street. And I went, I know, I'm at the fucking golf course. And
well, that put her in her place.
And but completely in my head, I thought it was at the golf course, and it was another wee while.
Is that a side effect of hypothermia?
Well,
or is it a concussion?
It was a side.
Something?
Exactly. I've asked like the doctor what it was, and the one I asked didn't have a clue. So again, to this day, I don't know. But I know we had a golf day at Aberdeen like a couple of weeks before that. But that was the only time. Like, I'm not a golfer. So it was bizarre. But I remember that clear.
Did you play well?
I remember that.
Take some money off the nurses.
But did you get a slap in the wrist off Aberdeen?
Yeah, but it was
What was it like when you phoned Derek McInnes, your manager?
Well, that's the thing. I had my phone in my pocket, so I didn't speak to him for a few days because everything was in my pocket. So obviously, so many people were getting in touch with me, but it was funny because it was actually international break, so we had a few days off, and I was going to Portugal for a few days anyway, and so I don't know what day it was. Sunday. That might have been the Sunday, and it was fine. It was my mates were. Everyone was like had to get in touch with them and be like, oh, they were just had the worst night of their lives, which I can see now. But at the time, I was like, geez.
And poor them.
And then, and then thinking, jeez, I hope that doesn't come out. What a story. That'd be the worst thing ever. And I thought I got away. Well, I thought that night, that night, there was a story that came out and said, man had been in River Kelvin or fished out or something. I can't remember, but it didn't name me. And I remember someone telling me that and thinking, gee, well, that's all right. They've not named me. And then the next day I was flying to Portugal, and it was an early flight. And I remember being at the airport, and you get free papers. Like, there's papers everywhere, you can take to go on a flight, like being plastered over every paper. And
that's how you found it?
Front page.
Well, no, I knew it was coming out, because I went with my missus, but people
sometimes
were telling her
it before it comes in the paper.
People were telling her, and I had a cap on, but I remember that this day it was flying to. We were flying to Portugal, obviously, but the day I was plastered all over this paper, and it went on for it wasn't just the Monday, it was Tuesday, it was for a while. But the South Korean leader had put a bomb, a nuclear bomb over Japan at this, and massive stories, but that was over this
River Kelvin.
Big story. But
Gary MacKay-Steven puts North Korea in place in nuclear outrage.
Because I remember thinking,
it.
what's happening with that? And when I seen in the paper, it was nothing to do with that.
Flying.
So, and they took the picture. They took it. It was from the night of the club, and it was no idea who took it, but it was. Yeah, the most.
Did you look bloated?
I looked not great, to be honest. Yeah. So.
Well, at least you've lived to tell the tale.
But at the time, in Portugal, so say the next day, 2 days after, I wanted to tweet out, be in the pool with armbands, make a joke of it, but I wasn't. Obviously, I see now because, like you said, there's been casualties and terrible stuff happening. Yeah, that. So it was a crazy thing, but it was just a bit of foolishness, really.
Look before you leap.
Yeah, I've certainly not leapt over walls and since. So,
guys, that's been fantastic.
That's
Do you know
a good
every
story,
week
man.
we say that week's guest was better than anything we'd ever hoped for.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened again.
No, man, you were really good, honestly. Really, really interesting.
Yeah.
That is. How long did we go there? We went fucking ages.
Yeah, we'll put that behind the paywall.
Seriously, that was a really good interview, man. Did you enjoy that?
No, I appreciate it.
Did you enjoy
Thank you. It's great. Aye.
It's great.
Gary,
He
it's
definitely did talk land of money. Do you think he does?
No,
You did, man.
He's from Dunblane or something.
He's from
I bet that anywhere outside Glasgow, they're shitting me all the awesome.
yeah. If you're north of Cumbernauld, you're a Chuchter, guys. You might as well find it. Listen, it's been great to see you again. Great to hear you're doing so well in New York.
Where have you seen him before?
He used to play for Celtic, Aberdeen and Dundee United.
Fair enough.
Now let's turn to the game that producer John and I have been playing. Who Knows Wins. It's the home of social betting, and they are changing the culture of gambling. Bookies have been taken out of the equation, and now you can bet on sports against your mates. So the more you know, the more you win. Got to give a shout out to some of our winners at the weekend. Buzz and also Tez MUFC, who both scooped 145 quid each. Download the app on the Apple App Store or Google Play. For more information, visit their website at www.whoknowswins.com. You just set up a league, set an entry fee, choose your matches, invite all your mates in, and you all predict the outcomes of those games. The person with the most predictions wins the pot of money. You can also join preset public leagues with larger pots of money competing against players from across the UK. So get involved now by downloading the app on Apple or Google Play by typing in Who Knows Wins. This week we've picked 6 games for your chance to take the money with a £5 entry fee for our league. That's the Football Daft Podcast League. The games are from the Premiership, Hibs v Aberdeen, Motherwell Hearts. From the Championship, it's Arbroath v Dundee, Inverness Cali against Ayr. From League 1, it's East Fife Falkirk. And from League 2, it's Edinburgh City against Cove Rangers. If you want my predictions, I'm not telling you. So listen, join in then. Download the app, get involved, and you could be taking the money off me like everyone else has.
And Davey boy, that wraps up another tremendous episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Speaking to the two geezers with the books, speaking to the geezer for the Yorkshire Times or the Yorkshire Post, speaking to Gary MacKay-Steven.
How good was he?
Yeah, it was a great story, and I'm so glad that he was able to dive into the story that we all wanted to know about, you know.
Oh, brilliant.
You've enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, I thought I kept my head above water.
Davey, you're doing great, mate. You're doing great. So what's your plans for the weekend?
The plans for the weekend are I am going to go to Hampden Park in Glasgow to watch the big one, but I'm trying to work out how I can be at home to watch Old Firm Memories with David Tanner on BT Sport.
I know, what's it
And
like?
then-
Jesus fuck, man, this is
Have I mentioned that yet?
You're murder.
It's good prog. It's a good prog. So I can't
prog,
wait.
good
I
prog.
can't wait.
That's another one for the...
Oh, here, by the way, we've got some reviews. Thank you for all your reviews on the podcast thing.
Right.
What do you call it, John? Apple. The
On
Apple.
you go, read it, come on.
Apple. Right, I've got some here. Billy H94. I've not read these. See if they're giving me stick. I'm going to kill both of you. Been here from episode 1. What a laugh. Only wish they'd done it more than once a week.
Oh.
I like Tanner. My name's David. Really. But really want Ewan back. Just 10 cans and Ewan.
Is there any more of these reviews?
Yeah, I'll let you read the last one. It's probably abusive.
No, what do we see? We've got a message here for Jackie BT. Did you send this in yourself, mate? Because it's got two is it your mo? Aye. It's two emojis, two love heart emojis, and it's highlighted, bolded, and underlined Tanner. Get Tanner signed in a 5-year deal now. Excellent host, excellent guest, excellent pod. That's got to be your fucking mo, is it no?
Listen, my mother, do you know when she
I
learned
shouldn't say
to
effing mo, that's disgusting.
do you know when she learned to text?
When?
Last year.
Did she?
Aye.
Good
So
on her.
I don't think getting on the Apple thing to give us a review. But listen,
Get
thanks
your
for the
mo on
reviews.
for Who Are You? Now, feel her up and see if I can get her.
Wee Agnes is not coming on.
Right, okay.
But it's an idea. It's an idea. So listen, thanks for all your reviews. It really keeps us going. Honestly, it's a huge boost when you all hark back to the glory days of you and Cameron.
Anyway, I need to boost. In an hour's time, I'm going to be on the stage as Geppetto. So if you're coming to the pavilion, hope you enjoy yourselves. If no, get your tickets now.
And enjoy the Old Firm game, Grado.
I'll be on the stage. Right, David, you've been football.
Grado, you have been completely daft.
It shall sail. Remember that. Love ya.